Okay. Anybody else? How do we perfect this broken link? I'm still looking for that. Because see, I can give you umpteen number of examples and I can open up avenues, but the context in which you are is so different. So here is what I am asking for, in what way? Yeah, Al. Okay? So think about it, set your minds thinking. Because they don't want to see somebody, someone said, no? It's not a performance platform either, okay? But somebody whom we can jail with. Okay, yes.
Okay, good evening. I'm Alan Rodrigues from Our Lady of Remedies, Paris, and I have come here on behalf of Yuva Darshan. I have heard a lot of priests talking about this point. Now, I would like to share, as a youth, what are my expectations from the church in perfecting this link. So, as everybody talked previously, confirmation, that is the first step in where you actually say that, okay, now you've become a youth. After the confirmation, people step into the youth group or they step into their external life. So I think our confirmation syllabus that we have, I feel it needs an overhaul. Because youth come there only because it is compulsory. If it was not, I guarantee you not even 10% would have been there. I think we need something which is more interactive, which is something which is more appealing to the youth. We need more outreaches. We need some experiences which would touch their heart rather than just theoretical studies or just completing those books. I have seen nowadays that we have some books which are completed, they have to be completed. I think instead of that, more of social outreaches or spiritual experiences or examples, this is what would affect them and would in turn get them closer to church rather than just getting done with it and running away from the church. So my very humble appeal to everybody is, please do not alienate them. Nowadays, I see this trend happening that most of the elderly people have a viewpoint like, oh, youth, they are nowhere, they are useless, they are this, they are that. Okay, fine. Okay, I consider, but please do not dishearten them right at the beginning. That is what puts them off. Rather than that, if you could say that, okay, what is happening now is that we tell them this is the church, this is where you are, and you are not fit to be there. I feel it should be this way, that this is the church and this is where you have to go. So I will show you the path. That has to be the approach, I feel. Then, make them feel that they are good. I think this feel-good factor is what is lacking in our youth. They just feel that they are not worth, they are not fit to be in the church. That's why they are out. All of them are out. I think we as leaders need to make them realize that they are really worth being there in the church and they are an actively contributing factor to the church. That realization has to be made to them. One more thing, I'm being very critical about this, but still I would like to mention that all of you, most of you are priests and nuns here, and I am very sure that you all would have had somebody as an idol in your life. Looking up to someone, you would have thought of joining priesthood, right? Do we feel that today these idols are lacking to the youth? In some ways, the youth do not see somebody whom they could look up to. That is the problem. It was a different story for your generation, it is a different story now. We cannot compare intergenerations, but still we have to adapt. We cannot say that, okay, in my childhood I did this, so I think my child should also do this. It's not so. Things change. We need to change. So I think we need more of these idols coming up. We need more of these idols being showcased to the youth for them to realize that, oh, I can be someone like this. This is not happening. That's why I feel that the youth are not tending to be in the church, rather out. Okay, then I feel the people who are responsible, nowadays, whenever we have youth gatherings, people come and talk like our youth are not going the right way, our youth are into bad company and everything of that sort. But I feel that the people who are first and foremost responsible for this is parents, our priests, nuns, and all the elderly people. These are the people who are responsible for getting the youth in this, whatever condition they are, that you are blaming. This should not be the case. I feel that if we give them the right teaching, there is no way that they go wrong way. If we lack ourselves in giving them the right teaching, or we fall short of giving them what they want, that is when they go the wrong way. And then again we land up blaming that the youth are not going the right way. So I think this is not right on our part for us to say this. Rather than first, very important thing now that I realize is, when I being a youth, I interact with a lot of youth. And mostly people tend to talk like, so and so, he is not practicing what he preaches. So this really has got a lot of importance. Practice what you preach. If I being a youth leader, I am not practicing what I am telling my youth, they are not going to listen to what I say. This is a very important realization that has to be brought about amongst all of us. So I think this is one very important point that I want to get across. Then, as Father said at the beginning, that Pope John Paul II said, youth is the spring season of the church. Today, I feel that we are making them felt that youth is the autumn of the church. It is like the leaf shedding period. So I feel this has to be changed. We have to really make them realize that you are worth, your worth. I am sure that there must be a percentage of a bad element in the youth, but it is for us to make them realize how good they are. If not, then they are free to go to wherever they want, and then all we can do is sit and cry that the youth don't come to church. Nothing else. And finally, I feel that the youth are not being given adequate amount of responsibilities in the church affairs, be it in the liturgy, be it in the organization, be it whatever. I feel that the youth need to be given responsibilities to make them responsible. We treat them as free wage laborers. They come, they work, they arrange the chairs, they do whatever work, and they go. That's all. Is that all that the youth are supposed to do? I think we need to change this thinking. I would say the fact that all of us are not going to be here forever. It's the youth who are going to take our places. So this transition has to be very smooth. I feel that nowadays there are a lot of problems happening between the younger generation and the older generation. Like there is a lot of authoritative problems and everything that is creeping up, due to which there are tensions rising amongst the priests, amongst the youth, and amongst the lay animators and also the leaders, lay leaders. I feel this has to be worked upon, and there should be a gradual transfer of authorities, powers, more importantly duties. All the duties have to be gradually transferred to them. Only then will they feel responsible and they will really have that feeling of belongingness to the church, rather than going away from there and sitting at home. Nowadays we have got a lot of other options available other than church. We cannot force somebody to come to church. All we can do is we can develop a liking in the youth to come to church, and I think that is what we should work upon. Thank you.
I think what Alan has said throws open to us number of challenges, okay? So let's not break our heads looking out for options. If you can just implement this, half the problems are solved. Once again, we were speaking about the psychology, okay? That's true, no doubt, their outlook. So they don't want to come to a confirmation class with a Bible and, very often. So we can already have stacked Bibles there. And they don't want to come with a notebook and pen and all, please. So what we have is a little packet for them, which every session is only one sheet. You roll it, you fold it and put it in your pocket. Okay? Now there is also a limitation to this. Don't think that these are means that are foolproof. Otherwise you will take this as gospel truth. There are limitations, because what you can write and what can you communicate in just one sheet, there are limitations, right? So the content sometimes goes down the drain. Another thing is the importance, I would say, and will once again harp on, is visual catechesis. We live in a visual world, okay, visual learning. And in fact, now for the few days, Don Bosco is having a meeting we were there because Tej Prasadni is once again having a meeting on faith formation in the context of communication. Sickness is a meeting there. So basically, are we on par with the communication world? Do we use means? In fact, the Holy Father used a particular torch, they say, to light a Christmas tree which was very, very far. No? How can we use ways and means? There are ethics on internet, no doubt. Ways and means of communicating our faith. Sometimes they use Twitter and Facebook, no doubt, as a group. So they share, okay, today we learned this Sunday, we learned this topic, and this is what I understood. And this is what I would like to share. My insight about this case that was presented to us in this leaflet. So then the person begins to think, the person begins to reflect, ponder, begins to question, but your experience, but by my workplace, they tell me, it's okay if you do it. No two ways about it. You're matured enough. Why are you listening to what the church has to say? See, so basically diverse views, no? And finally to answer Father Michael, when he spoke about, youth just turn their backs to the church. Why? Because they have realized they have completed the content of their catechesis. And catechists are also bothered about finishing this book. The syllabus. Please. And if I begin to take just a random survey on some things about the church, how many of us will be able to answer, even though we are priests and witches? So give them their space. Okay, CCC 1309 very clearly speaks about preparation of candidates for confirmation. How to prepare? It says, preparation for confirmation must aim at leading the Christian towards a more intimate union with Christ. So that is the idea. If you can lead the student to a deeper relationship with the Lord, your catechesis is done. Your catechesis is done. Okay? Through a more lively familiarity with the Holy Spirit, His actions, His gifts, and His invitations, in order to be better able to assume the apostolic responsibilities of Christian life. Here is how. Ministries. Thus, confirmation catechesis makes an effort to rekindle in the candidate his sense of belonging to the Church of Jesus Christ, to the universal church, as much as to the parish community. In fact, the parish community bears a special responsibility in the preparation of the candidates. So two important things. The role of the parish as a community. So the whole team of priests, parents as first formators. Look at the General Directory for Catechesis, Vatican II, Familiaris Consortio. Prayer guardians, the Our Father, the I Believe. Prayer is to be shared, this experience. So do you have prayer guardians when you have First Communion students? The sponsor, the role of the godparents, the SCC. So all this is important in the faith formation. And finally, the celebration of confirmation. Leave it to the students themselves. The celebration is not a performance platform. The celebration is an experience of what I have learned in this whole process of being catechized. It's a culmination. And from there, I begin to say, yes, if I could do it on that day, I want to be part of my parish as well as the universal church. If you keep on doing it for them, you begin to make them feel they are not part of your package deal. They are always at the receiving end. So it's okay, somebody gives it to us, we take it for what it's worth, we leave it or throw it. No? So no two ways about it. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
Hello. My really anxiety is how to appeal to the youth in the classroom, the sessions that we conduct for confirmation, for example. So I'm just back from All India Catechetical Association meeting, and there one participant shared, as you, for example, Terence, you begin the session by knowing where we are from the facts and the experiences, and then you build it. So he says you do the same with the youth. Take the youth where it is. And he shared this experience. He says one of the meetings, youth meeting, which I conducted, he says I began it with that song, Kolavari B. Let them sing, dance. About 20 minutes it seems in the hall there was a chaos. And finally they got exhausted and sat down. And then he says, I asked them, how do you feel? And he justified doing this saying, is there anything evil in the Kolavari? If it is not evil, it is holy. Let us try to realize that Jesus is anonymous, even in the youth experiences, most secular experiences, and show them. And one example which he shared, he says, some youth said, we are exhausted. And then now what do you want to do? Now you want to sit down and relax. There, Jesus is calling us to really relax. But do we give them that experience of relaxation in prayer? I feel that should be followed in our confirmation sessions. Take the youth from where they are, what is their experience, and show the depth of it, Jesus' experience through it.
I'm not very sure if I've done justice to what I was told to do, but it is 6 o'clock now. You have any questions?
The content of the youth camp.
Okay, the content of the youth camp. It is not different from the CCC, certainly not. It only talks in their language, using examples, scripture quotations and citations, and even others, like say, they have quoted Martin Luther, they have quoted people like Aristotle and all. So once again, a global understanding that the church is not so narrow-minded. Now what is good and holy, as I told you earlier. It's also, the content talks about something that they are, searching for. They are grappling with. Basically, the situations that they are in, we are not in that situation. Sometimes we are talking about so many things, no? We talk to them about, just say, they take the commandments, honor your parents or your father and mother. Father, in what way? One little child was asked, what's your mommy's name? Guess what did the child say? Guess. A random guess. That is why, what he said, don't alienate yourselves. Feel the pulse. Feel the pulse if you're not. I told you, identify yourself, but please don't do. Because sometimes we as youth ministers, as youth directors, whatever, we want to go with them, but then they will straight away say, Father, if you are sitting with us for all this thing, can we look up to you as an icon? So don't mix up issues. Know where our boundaries are. Now just tell me, can you guess? It could not be in Vasai, huh? But can you imagine that little child said, my mother's name is Bitch. And that priest who was taking that session, once again asked, no baby, what is your mommy's name? And the child repeated the same thing. And what's your daddy's name? Gada. See? And now that you realize the context was that the father was always addressing his wife. In what context? Honor your father and mother. They are fighting cats and dogs over petty things. They have no time for me. I was talking to a couple yesterday. They have a shipping business. They can do everything. And the daughter, who is just 23, is dating a divorcee who is 38. Once again, the void and the vacuum in the family of a father figure is fulfilled outside. So basically, if you don't understand this pattern and this psychology, then you have cut yourself. Why are you talking? Very often we come and we want to tell them, okay, this is what the church thinks about. This is what the church thinks about, but I think differently. And I can make that decision for myself, mature enough. You see? I was shocked when the little girl said that. Only to know. And then when the little boy, when the brother, the seminarian who was appointed in that parish, went to visit that family, right enough. There was never a dull moment. There's always the house on fire. So basically, if you as confirmation catechist don't really understand, that is why visiting your student, simple creative options. I did not want to tell you because then it's like really something. You have to know. If you feel that this is the ministry is in the church. Don't only think they are here to stack chairs and sweep this room and keep everything ready for a session. They can contribute in many ways. In fact, most of our issues which are done by youth. All this, their brains are fabulous. They are thinking over time. You just tell them, Father, just tell me. The whole idea of the new evangelization, the Linea Menta, I gave it to one catechist who's just barely 24 years old from Holy Name Cathedral. She's the vice president of a marketing company. I gave it to her with other relevant material and I told her, can you begin to write articles in the Examiner in the language that appeals to our lay faithful? And the first thing she wrote was joyful living. New evangelization is joyful living. Simple. No mincing words, not using jargon that can create distaste, not using words that are not relevant, because their vocabulary, their language is so different. Today look at the SMS. Where's English, proper English, and what are spellings and all? I don't think we are going to have the subjects like dictation and all. Okay? No? In spellings, because you can spell something in a different way. So all these changes that are taking place, am I in tune with that? If not, then I don't know. I think they may be saying, fathers, sisters, and catechists, you perfect the link first. Okay? Only then can we be part of your system and organization. It could be their crown, their appeal to us. Okay, so are we pulling our antennas a little higher so that we are on the right wavelength? That's the question. Yeah.
I just want to share this last reflection, that all these good books and good values, ideals, always come up when we have a good experience of life. I mean, who has written all this? I mean, you have gone through that particular experience. So do we tell the confirmation students that you give us the syllabus? You prepare the syllabus first. What topics do you want? So my reflection is that you give them this, now the solutions are given. But they have not experienced the problems. We are already telling them what are the solutions to your problems. But you would want to say, the confirmation students, Father, we want to experience these problems in our life, what we are going through. Then only we will be convinced of the solutions. So we need to reflect on this aspect, that how the syllabus is prepared. Syllabus is prepared by the people who have gone through this experience. They are giving the solutions. But what about you going through the experiences? Now this particular example that Father Terence gave, and this particular experience can give us the understanding that what is the meaning of having a mother. If you say that your mother is a bitch and your father